So whenever anybody asks, who is that? That's Baba in them asking that. And it rarely happens. You know, you could have a Baba Lucket and, you know, maybe once a month someone will say, who is that? But, you know, when someone says, who's the ancient one, they're that's Baba in them asking that question.
Yeah, I only had one person come in who recognized it. He'd known somebody down, oh man, I've forgotten, but he'd met a Baba lover and was good friends with him. So it was an instant rapport.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting how it'll strike somebody and not others, you know. I went I went to a stump speech given by Joe Biden. This was years ago. I don't know, it could be 15 or 20 years ago, and I had a Baba locket. And after the stump speeches took place, I went up and shook his hands. And but I saw him look distinctly at the Baba locket before shaking hands. So he's at least seen Baba's image. He didn't ask who it was, but you know,
he may have known because there's, you know, that you were one of the previous weeks you were talking about the rumor, at least, that that he'd gone to a meeting or two after his wife and daughter died.
Yeah, I've never you know, followed up on that. That the one fellow that would probably know, he's devoted to Baba, but he doesn't come to the center. And I've always kind of wanted to ask, you know, even further back, you know, even when he was vice president, I was just curious. Yeah, I'm going to find.
There's also the, what was it? The meeting, that World Festival in New York City, I don't know, sometime in the 60s, and some Baba lovers had set up a booth there with information booth, and somebody came by, I think it was Nixon came by, and they said they handed him a Baba pamphlet or something.
Yeah.
He signed it and gave it back to him.
Yeah, that's true. I know that one. That the what do they call it? The World's Fair? What is it called?
Yeah, it was World's Fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, in New York. Yeah. No.
So who has that signed card?
You know, we've heard that since I've heard that since the early 70s, but we never did know who it was. But at that time, we could have tracked it down, you know, because they were still alive at that time. The people who manned the booth there in New York. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Baba said if a world leader would dedicate themselves to him, he would run that country. And that would be nice if we had someone that was fool enough to do that.
Exactly the right word.
Yeah.
There was an article that Baba Talk put out that said that he had. It was in a newspaper article that somebody had written. I just sent it to Jeff Taylor.
Yeah.
And let's see.
On Facebook, someone had emailed that person, that reporter.
All
the
over.
The reporter had only said, well, it's something that I heard.
Yeah.
Oh, darn. Okay. All right. So that's not true. Okay.
Yeah, that was a misinterpretation by one of the caretakers. Yeah.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to be spreading untrue.
Yeah. And
we don't need any more untruths spreading around these days. So.
Yeah, and you know, once things like that get into Anne McAvoy's hands, it's over.
What is that?
Say it again, Jeff.
I said, once things like that get into Ann McAvoy's hands, it's all over town.
He's a mover and a shaker.
There was a type of meditation that Darwin did, and I've mentioned it before, where he would concentrate on the people close to him, enfold them in Baba's love, and then he would go out into the neighborhood. Then he would go out to the city of Schenectady. Then he'd go to the state of New York. Then he'd go to, and he would just keep widening the circle I assume as long as it was still real, there wasn't just abstract, but he moving feelingly wider and wider.
Well,
And I know when I was living up there in Schenectady, sometimes we'd be, as a buddy of mine, I'd be walking around and we'd feel like, wow, Darwin is here. We'd feel like Darwin, out in town. He was, that flavor of Darwin was there in the atmosphere. So it works. I mean, it doesn't make it down to Florida because, that place.
Just a sandbar anyway.
Yeah, it's a sandbar that's ready to go under. Titusville especially.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
I'll give you-
Pennsylvania is represented here.
That's right. I've got a large state to represent.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see you guys all.
Yeah.
Hello, long time no see.
Yeah. It's been forever.
It feels that way.
So clean shaven.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Ready to impress those
Yeah.
youngsters.
Yeah.
That's right. Tomorrow's launch date for school.
What's that?
Tomorrow is the launching day for the school year. I'll meet my students tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, I have felt very good until these last few hours. Now the nervousness is creeping in a little bit, but overall I'm feeling very good.
Yeah.
What grade do you teach?
I teach high school physics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Do you think the school is handling the beginning well, the re-entry well?
As best as anybody could, given the circumstances, this is I think they're doing a good job.
Good.
And will you be in the classroom?
No, our school will start fully online,
Yeah.
but I am allowed to go into my classroom and do live Zoom sessions from the classroom, which is actually really helpful.
Yeah.
I can have access to lab equipment and for demonstrations and things of that nature for the students.
Yeah.
Benefits. So, and I can collaborate with my colleagues really easily, provided that we socially distance.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's I think it's as good as it can be considering the situation.
Good.
Yeah. And make recordings of it all, and then you can just rerun it next year, You don't have to show up.
Get paid the same price.
There's some truth to that. Yes. Yeah.
Don't do it too well. They might not want to pay you the second time around. They'll just pay you little dividends or something and see you.
Yeah. Well, that is a real question that's being asked in the educational space, especially in higher education, is, if we now have access to high level educators, like, Harvard educators, and their full list of videos for a particular course.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning Yale. Hugh Flicker is right there.
Yale too, yeah.
No, yeah. No, Harvard, don't mention Yale. That's kind of that's, the younger brother, No.
But so then you have to ask the question, what's the role of a teacher? Is it to deliver content, or does the role of a teacher adapt and, so on and so forth. So these kinds of things are going to get hashed out in the next decade or so.
Yeah. I mean, the interpersonal kind, the personal relationship, unfortunately, can't be pursued in quite as well on Zoom as when you're there in person.
Absolutely.
That aspect of teaching, which is probably one of the most vital parts, is kind of lost.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with that. It's going to be
Yeah.
challenging to recreate that in a virtual space.
Yeah.
I will say these particular Zoom meetings that we're doing here and the late night chats, I feel have really helped me know how to create that space even in a virtual setting.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Good.
I'm very hopeful for that.
Yeah.
In some ways, there's almost a way to be more, I don't know, intimate, but like I see you, Jeff, right now in a way that I don't see you if we're standing in a room, a few feet apart and there's a lot of other people mulling around and all that stuff. And I almost feel like we're looking eye to eyeball with each other. And like somebody like Smiley who can't hear, who sort of reads lips and all that, he would never be able to get as much information in person as he would online if he would do it.
Yeah.
But
Beautiful.
it's really a mixed bag in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got some a lot of merits to this this way of interacting, and then plus some of these people you would never see
Absolutely.
on a regular basis unless they happen to come to the center on the same week that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that it's incorporating in our lives a pretty important rhythm that, if you stick to it, it becomes part of your daily sequence of events, so to speak,
Yeah. Yeah.
which would not normally occur.
Yeah. And instead of reaching for that bottle, you just kind of type ZOOM on.
I wanted to
The new Zoom high.
mention physics.
There's definitely an intimacy and a personality to being online, and 5 people or 50, there's still that same presence. The person that you're talking to is full and center if you want them to be.
Yeah.
I think that once they create enough content that the content can be delivered other ways, then the role of the teacher is more this sort of one-on-one conversation. Once you kind of get the content out there, there's actually way more to be done. But I think that kids especially would have to be very self-motivated to get that content down so that they can have this conversation with their teacher.
Yeah, which would be nice.
Okay. Have any of you read The Way and the Goal?
Some people I have, yeah.
Because that really shows Doctor's personality, and he has a very nice way of presenting Mayor Barber. So
I didn't read that.
those Way and the Goals, you could get them now from the Mayor Barber Trust site.
Like a newsletter.
And Larry Karish said that Baba had said that he would be one of the 5 perfect, a perfect master in this next life.
Harry?
Yeah. So he was doing some valuable time.
Yep.
He was a powerhouse, probably the most powerful presence that I've experienced in the Baba world, next to Esfandiar and Darwin could be a very, I'm talking about just a palpable physical presence being there when Bob was coming through.
Yeah.
It was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Yeah.
That's how he attracted me, Dr. Kenmore. Okay?
Yeah.
He attracted me, and that's how.
Yeah. Sometime we'll tell you a little bit about Harry Kenmore. Some very interesting stories about him.
One night you and I forget the guy's name from Colorado, I think, who were with him. You were imitating him saying the prayers. You were like knocking us over in the
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
Baba said he would go up 7 flights in order to say those prayers. And he had such a booming voice that it was like a like a hurricane came through the room and all the shutters on your windows just rattled and they were gone and stuff was flying off and everything was laid bare after he was done. Like, whoa, there's, you know, all the sun scars have been like swept out of the room for a time. Of course, they jump back like fleas onto you, but again, but no, it was powerful. Yeah.
I could remember one very important thing, okay? Dr. Kenmore called us barber, Meher barber enthusiasts, not lovers, but enthusiasts.
Uh-huh. And he used to call people, a lot of people, humanimals.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He was very, very outspoken person, opinionated, incredible. But, you know, one time when I first went there, that's another whole story, but he asked me, you know, what are you going to do with your life? You know, and this is one of the early times I met him, and I said, well, I would like to be a writer, like a novelist. And, you know, I had tried, you know, writing, and I'd written a lot of stuff, but I never showed it to anybody. It just never, I was kind of a perfectionist and all. But he asked me, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, I wanted to be a writer. And he kind of ponders there, kind of quietly, and he says, do you love writing? And I kind of went blank. And I said, no. And, you know, he said, yeah, if you love writing, you would be writing even on the napkins in restaurants. But I kind of agonized over being a writer for years, and he relieved me of that, just in one fell swoop. I just, I realized I was very surprised that I didn't have the love for it that would make it truly happen. At least at that stage in my life, yeah.
Sorry, Jeff, who were you talking about that said that?
Oh, Dr. Harry Kenmore. He was one of Baba's Mondali, who lived in New York. He was a blind chiropractor.
Oh, wow.
And he was always, I think I got a couple of minutes. He was always, I was agonizing at that period of my life when I was living in New York. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my life? It was just, and I would go to see him, and he'd, you know, ask me, what are you going to do with my life? And he'd, I was just working at the college library, you know, he says, you need a career, you know, you're getting nowhere. You know, he'd blast me, you know, and I would walk away out of there so relieved of the agony of wondering what I was going to do with my life. And then over a month time, it would build up again. And I would go in there and he'd say, you are not nowhere. Why don't you get something? Well, you can't just be, you know, this stupid job, you know, and he'd yell at me, and I would walk out of there and I would be so free of that worry. For another time. But one time I brought a buddy of mine, he came all the way out from Seattle, and we were, and he was meeting him for the first time. It was just the three of us. And I said, you know, Dr. Kenmore, this is Ken Rickstead, my buddy, and everything. And, you know, and then he, very soon he gets on the topic. You know, what are you doing with your life? What's your career? And this is after I hadn't been there for a while. And I said, I hadn't have anything definite. And he said, this is like in the voice of like an Old Testament prophet. He said, the trouble with you, Jeff, is you're just a mad dog roaming the face of the earth. You know, my buddy was just meeting him for the first time. You know, you're just a mad. I mean, like it was like you know, prophet. You know, one of the great prophets.
Yeah.
But I never felt shamed by him. I never felt criticized by him. I don't know why.
Oh,
You're
God.
just a mad
God.
dog roaming the face of the earth.
Oh, man.
Oh,
The time is now 5:30.
oh yeah. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence.
Okay. Okay, J Baba.
All the mad dogs should quiet down for a little bit. J Baba. So, so most everybody, oh, Peter's here. Must have. So most of you know how the routine, but those who don't, Angela will scan the board and pick someone to read. You read like a section, and then afterwards, anybody that wants to ask questions or share anything related to what Darwin has said. And now at the end of this, anybody who would like to stay on after 7, Stu Baker will lead us on a heart-centered, love-filled short meditation. It's very powerful, very meaningful. So you're invited for that. I just want to say a few words about what we're coming up to. Back in 1954, Baba invited a number of men to India as his guests, and they stayed at Upper Mehrabad. It was for 3 weeks, and they later called it the 3 Incredible Weeks. And Baba gave, among other things, discourses. And at one point, he said that he would give them a meditation practice. And they were all kind of eager. Darwin said that they were going to get a meditation from the master. And Baba called it Sahaj Dhyan. Darwin will go into it in the chapter that we're coming to, which means a natural meditation or an effortless meditation. And this meditation is probably the shortest meditation in the history of spirituality, because it requires only 4 seconds a day. And but Baba said, if you observe this practice for 4 seconds a day, you will eventually feel his presence throughout the day. And many of us started doing this back in the early 70s, and you really can experience Baba's presence throughout the day by doing this and feel his presence at will. It's well worth it. And people say, well, how could 4 seconds lead to such an experience? But, this is the Lord of creation who's who's making this available. It's not just some, your local meditation center with a little meditation for you. This is the man himself. So anyway, let's see if there's anything else I might add. No, but I'm again, and I say again and again, it's very touching to hear how all of you talk about your lives with Baba. I mean, it really is. I mean, Darwin would have loved to hear all of this coming from his book that he wrote in his 90s, and everybody gathered and following this. And there are people from all over the world that tune into these things afterwards, whose times don't fit our schedule. So anyway, let's get going.
Okay, we are on page 89, the beginning of chapter 16, Dressing Our Soul.
This is from Darwin in italics. Dressing Our Soul. Meher Baba is the imperishable sweetness of divine love. We are surrounded by the immeasurable sweetness of his being of divine love, which is the true nature of all space, which through and through, which is indeed our own true nature and being. As we grow little by little in spirit, we find that we can no longer tolerate some actions, thoughts, and feelings in ourselves anymore. We also become more aware of actions, thoughts, and feelings that are compatible with our inner being. More and more, we want peace of mind, which means more harmony, upliftment, more light within, and deeper values. We see that it is not so much accepting a doctrine as weeding out things we had not known were affecting us. We are working toward divinity, divine reality, divine love, divine truth, and that is above all laws. It cannot be dominated or superseded by anything. This is what Baba has and gives, and what sustains him. And when we come to him, his divinity also sustains us. He lifts us out of the lesser laws that govern lower levels of consciousness. Under the law of divine love, the lawless love, which means that we would be entirely free. Of course, we have integrity of purpose and do not use this as a loophole for indulging in things that are wrong. Rather, it lifts us out of the wish to do anything that is other than the purest. Loving, trusting, and feeling intimate with the Master gradually raises our consciousness and creates an open channel. It is slow to happen, but it is real work that is going on to raise our consciousness. Do you want me to read on, or you?
Yeah, keep at it.
Else? Okay. That is why we are spending our lifetime making efforts to decondition our subconscious. It is so that we can stop limiting the Master or God by our false ideas about him and ourselves. He helps us see through these false notions. This knowledge deepens into insight. We can see how our impressions ensnares us and how our sanskaric patterns have become a drag on our consciousness. Whether we are conscious of it or not, once we have tuned into we are receiving help from him. With this help, the impressions dissolve, the heart center opens, and love flows. The crowning jewel is the flow of divine love. Everyone should feel equally close to him. No one should feel left out. A relationship with him is equally available to all. He does not play favorites. All are meant to be intimate with God.
Beautiful. Wow. It's just, every one of these sections kind of says it all. I just want to ask a question. How would, Darwin says, as we grow little by little in spirit, what does that mean to you, growing in spirit? I mean, at an inner level. I mean, there's the definition, the Webster's definition of spirit, but what do you, how do you find that in yourself?
Hi, so what popped into my head immediately when you asked that, Jeff, was a couple weeks ago how Darwin was saying, and we had discussed as a group, how even if we don't get onto the inner planes, if that's not the path, we start to, as we ascend in consciousness, Darwin described how we start to not live off of the gross experiences and impressions as much, and we start to imbibe the qualities from the planes. So from the subtle planes, we start imbibing, the infinite energy and things like that. And I forgot what the things are that we imbibe from the mental planes and all that. But anyways, I know you'd mentioned that whole panorama of experiences that we start to get inside with the growing intuition, the experience of energy, love, all of these higher qualities start to become our inner experience. So that's what I would personally take as, growing in spirit, as those experiences becoming our inner world more and more. But
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, rather than growing into your samskaras, you kind of grow out of them into these more divine qualities that really are flowing in from the divine love. Those start to infuse us at the innermost level. Beautiful.
Robin and Anne?
Well, I don't think I can say it as eloquently, but I was just thinking that just by emptying out the stable and being more open and able to have Baba live in us and be tuned into that, that feels like, it could be a whole lot of different things for each one of us at different times, but basically it feels like growing in spirit is being open to him being able to live in us and not get blocked by our sanskaras and all that.
Yeah, beautiful. Very, very clear.
And Janaki?
So for me, and just in terms of how I notice or think I feel, is that I feel like I'm like Baba's leading my life more. Like I don't have to make as many decisions. Like I put out what's going on and then I give it over to Baba, and then stuff always happens that I'm amazed that I would have never thought about. And to me, when that happens, it's like a sign that, yeah, I don't want to say going further along the path because there is no path, but just being closer to Baba and higher in spirit and surrendering more.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, you get eclipsed, by his presence. Yeah. I see Jeff Asbell there.
I think, Jeff, that this spirit that you're asking us about, that we're no longer there. We're no longer the person that we've been for a long time, even over years and years of so-called evolving. I think you disappear. You're still aware that you're a you and a being, but you're not that same person who earned degrees or earned money or had children or did good works. You are no longer thinking of you. You're actually, I believe, thinking of others at all times. And you are, as others have just said, imbued with love. Those two words, be love. Not become love, be love. To be in that be love state. Not that we can even approach to understand how Baba is or was and is and will be, but we have a little glimpse of that love. You are no longer there. Love pervades you, and Baba actually speaks through your voice, your actions, and your thoughts. You are no longer you. You have disappeared, meaning the ego mind has become so in love with Baba and service to others that that's all you are. You are love, love, love. You are love itself. You be love. That's the way I kind of sense your question's answer
Yeah.
a little bit.
Wonderful. Yeah, Darwin used to say, I mean, this you're seeing it in a different context, but don't think of yourself so much as a base of operations. Think of yourself as a conduit, as a vehicle, a vehicle of this love. So it's a different paradigm altogether. And he used to talk about that a lot.
And Heidi?
Hi. I have something, a discourse by Baba, The Life of the Spirit. I used to carry it around with me to work all the time, but it maybe it talks about what we're talking about with spirit, so I'll read some of it, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Adjustment between the material and the spiritual aspects of life is not secured by giving equal importance to them. It is not secured by taking something from the material and something from the spiritual and then striking a balance between the two. The spirit must and ever will have an invaluable primacy over matter, but the primacy is not expressed by avoiding or rejecting matter, rather by using it as an adequate vehicle for the expressions of the spirit.
Yeah, beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that says it all right there.
Life of the Spirit.
Yeah. Thank you for finding that.
I think that what struck me today about life of the spirit or the spirit are the lines, this very short phrase that Darwin threw in at the end of one sentence, lifting us out of the wish to do anything that is other than the purest. I think that's the spirit for me today.
Yeah.
Lifting us out of the wish to do anything that is other than the purest.
Yeah. Pure intention or loving attention, intention.
And Gabriella?
I have been thinking during this pandemic that it's really wild that when I want to read of Baba's life, and when I read many books at a time, and every time these days, it is so different than when I used to read about Baba. And I don't know if the pandemic has slowed me and maybe perhaps others down a great deal, but I feel that for me, that life of the spirit is that when I'm reading this, I'm there. I go so deeply into being with Baba, into, when you talked about Harry, just for that little bit, the same kind of feeling, you're really there. And he's bringing me closer, I feel. And he's given us such incredible gifts with all these books and different people. It's like if you take each of the many writers about Baba, it's like a kaleidoscope, and each person has a slightly different take on Baba. And then it's like I get a better glimpse of him through all of them mixed together. So I go much deeper in it's like my study. It's like I'm desiring to study Baba, but it's really the experience more than, a mental thing.
Yeah, well said, Gabriella.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And Janet Jacobs?
Yes, I think it piggybacks on what Jeff Apple, or however you say his name, said, but it's what I've noticed is that I'm talking on the phone to someone like, you know, in my own family right now, there's a difficult situation, and I have, and I can feel some negative emotions within me and everything at times. And when I'm speaking to this person, what I notice is that even at moments when I could say something that is less than kind, it doesn't happen. I'm not saying I don't say them. I'm just saying they're not said. These other words come out of my mouth. and it's like, okay, thank you, Baba. Thank you for keeping me kind. Thank you for this. Thank you for not adding to an escalation of difficulty in the world. And really, it sort of puts me in a state of amazement some of the time that Baba is that, let's see. I mean, I figure that has to be spirit. That has to be Baba, because it isn't like a conscious, oh, I'm not going to say that. It's more like I don't say it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't say, I stayed on the high road. The high road stayed with me. And I feel that must be the spirit, this Baba's spirit working within me and providing another opportunity, another road, I guess is what I'd say, another road to follow. So.
Yeah, very touching, Janet. We've all been there and seen Baba do that. He eclipse our usual behavior.
And Mayor Prasad?
Yeah, you know, the first three lines that Darwin talks in this section are just invaluable insights. And that's what I think the growing in spirit means. You know, we become very intolerant to certain thoughts and feelings that occur, like jealousy, hatred, judgment, being judgmental. You know, we become intensely aware of each of those, and they just become very, you know, being with our innermost being. So I think that's what the growing in spirit means to me.
Yeah, we're not as attracted to junk food as much anymore.
That's what growing in spirit means to you, Jeff?
Yeah, I stay away from the junk food. I go organic. Now we're going to get into what Darwin used to share with us.
Dress your soul. And Marilyn, you said you wanted to read?
Just before I start, I was thinking of Baba's wish when he says, I think all this belongs to Baba, as an answer to the question to letting go and being more in spirit. Anyway, this is Dress Your Soul. In 1954 in India, Mayor Baba had hinted for days that he was going to give us a special practice that would allow us to experience his presence with us all the time, while working, at leisure, or whatever we were doing. He called the practice Sahaj Dhyan. When he said that, I thought, wow, this must be some very profound Eastern practice, something very mystical. And so the day came when someone brought up the question, what is the method you were going to tell us about? He proceeded to explain. Sahaj Dhyan, he said, means natural meditation. The first thing you do when you get up in the morning is dress your soul with Baba. Then at noon, do the same thing again. Dress Your Soul with Baba. And then at 5 p.m. or thereabouts, do the same thing again. And finally, just as you retire at night, dress your soul with Baba. It only takes a few seconds, Baba said, like adjusting your tie. Giving him those few seconds a few times a day has the potential of markedly raising the consciousness of those who do. Ordinarily, upon awakening, a person, especially a working person, has to figure out what the program is for the day. But you can still take a few seconds, as Baba said, to dress your soul with Baba. This sets the tone for the day and prepares you to deal with Maya. Then, when it gets to the middle of the morning, you begin to look at your watch. Not yet 12, but you are thinking of Baba at 11:30, 11:45, until it is finally noon. And you do the same as you approach 5 p.m. So that after a while, you develop a habit of thinking of Baba most of the time. But also it throws you into the problem of trying to understand what Baba means by dress your soul with Baba. Where is your soul and who is Baba? So it involves your feelings and your identity. It involves everything, so it really tunes you into Baba. I think Baba wants us to think about what he meant by dress your soul with Baba. He is already divinely free. So instead of falling back into bodily habits and personality paradigms, we dress our soul with Baba's consciousness instead of our lower consciousness. Soul with Baba's consciousness. I'm reading it again, instead of our lower consciousness. It counteracts our other trains of thoughts that clamor to come in and leaves them off on a sidetrack somewhere. For me, dress your soul with Baba means assert your soul's true identity, your true nature. In dressing our soul with Baba, we are accepting the Lord of Mercy and all that he is as our reality. This includes eternal salvation, purity, continuous grace, divine love, purity, truth, and beauty. It is more or less capturing the composite presence of Baba, the presence of God, and allowing that presence to flood one's heart, one's inner being, rather than doting on all kinds of sanskaric interests just to keep the mind busy. In other words, we are stepping into the picture and making our own choices instead of being victimized and drifting along with what our sanskaras present to us. It is up to us as we grow spiritually to make better and better choices. We choose to control our reactivity and keep our focus one-pointedly on God or the Master within, to dress our soul with Baba right away. We put our trust in him, accepting whatever he wants to provide. Wow.
This practice, has been pretty common in our family. I just want to narrate a small story that happened with my aunt, who's my mother's sister. She happened to have Baba's darshan when she was 7. And Baba exactly said the same thing that we just read about. He said, remember me at 12, 5, and when you go to bed, and of course, when you wake up. And what happened was, then she was only 7 at the time, but she still wanted to do this wholeheartedly. And then she made my grandfather buy her a watch, and she would wear that and go to school. And then it so happened when she was at school, she was so keen on trying to nail down a time, 12 o'clock, and she would often look at the watch and to try to remember Baba. And the same thing happened in the evening when it's coming close to about 5. Obviously, she would be out of school, but then she was so conscious about not missing that time. And she would do that so religiously from that time onwards. And she passed away at the age of 18 because of some fever, typhoid, I believe. And later we learned her name is inscribed on the memorial tower. So, I mean, it's not just because of that, that her name is there, but I think the power of this practice is just unbelievable. And we all do that. I mean, I fix my clock to, chime at these times, and then at least I try to take Baba's name.
Thank you, Prakash. Yeah, I remember that story, and that was your mother's sister. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yes, Jim Oppenheim?
Yeah, I was going to say that part of the fun of that, Darwin would tell us about how thinking about, when's it coming? When's it coming? So you're thinking about it more often. And I've got it on my smartphone, so it's just an alarm, so I don't get that benefit. But what happens is I'll forget totally, and I'll be in the middle of a lecture in class, and it'll go off. And I have to stop everything and go, well, there's my God alarm. We're all going to think of God now. And it's become a joke, but it's another way of remembering.
Wow. And Cliff, go ahead.
I remember Darwin telling a story about how that it made a big impression on me. How he wouldn't get out of bed until he had done it. And he said some days it took a while until he really just totally felt Baba's presence, but he wouldn't get out of bed until that happened. Jai Baba.
And he would say, kind of what Prakash was saying is that, as you're getting close to 12 o'clock, it's only 11:15. Well, I'll just do it now in case I forget at 12. And then check again, it's 22. Well, I might as well do it now in case I forget at 12 o'clock. So it's all these like stringing beads of remembrance throughout your day. It works.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Jeff, how do you do it?
And how does it work for you?
How does it
What's
work
your
for you over
experience?
the years?
What happens, I mean, it's like if it was a cold day and you put on this kind of warm down jacket. I mean, this kind of warmth, enfold yourself in the warmth of him. And so it's kind of a glow. I mean, after a while your body kind of glows, and you can feel that. I mean, you however you want to work with that, but I think of it as a cold day and you kind of snuggle up in a warm coat in the middle of this crazy world. And and then after a while you can do it at any time. That warmth comes in from him. and sometimes you'll be going along and you'll stub your toe or something like that, and then you look at your watch and it's 5 o'clock. So Baba eventually starts reminding you in case you forget. So even there's that like nice little personal interplay with Baba as he, as these things happen. It just seems like someone would say that's just too easy, I mean, to get God's presence throughout the day, just 4 times you have to focus on this. It seems too easy, but it really is. It really works.
I think I wanted to ask somebody else how they did it because I'm too embarrassed by how I did it. I saw the practice, I started doing it, and quite frankly, I got, I'm going to say, too involved in it, so I complicated it. And I also set alarms in my phone, and they seemed to go off at the most inopportune times when I was knee deep in something else. I'm like, I got to get dressed now? this is going to look really weird because I didn't know I take things too literally sometimes. So sometimes I literally pretended that I'm getting dressed in like something. I don't even want to say what, but so I wanted to know what I call the minimum that would need to be done in order for it to be effective. And yeah, I'm thinking about a passage that was read earlier. My thoughts about it were too dark, so I just didn't go ahead with it. So, I mean, I've done it for a while. I stopped doing it for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Maybe I just got tired of doing it. But also want to hear how other people do it to keep it very, very simple. Understanding also that my paradigm of Meher Baba was not pleasant. So to me, the concept of doing this was not very endearing. It was, let me do something to discipline myself to learn better. So I have a phrase I'm coining to myself, and I'm really debating on whether to say it or not, because it won't be taken very well. But in order to change my paradigm of God, I said, maybe let me do this to move my consciousness so I can feel better. So in its simplest way, I wanted to see what other people did as well. I'll pass.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Hugh Flick?
Yeah, when I clothe my soul with Baba, I also envision myself hugging Baba. I think that's
Beautiful. Yeah. It's
That's
a very
sweet.
creative thing. I mean, you come up with your own version, and Bob is thrilled. That's beautiful. I like that, Hugh. I'm going to incorporate that into the coat.
Well, this is something Darwin and I used to love to play with him. He was always had a very playful spirit about this. So it was just particularly nice to be with him at these hours. And what I personally adopted or did just naturally, intuitively, was I would turn my physical body and mental body and spirit body, I would transform it in my mind into Baba's face and body and heart. And, I would just imagine myself transforming into Baba. I could do it really quickly and I could do it really slowly. And again, like for me, there's always this warmth. And Baba is very humorous for me too. He's the funniest person I know. He's always making me laugh. So there's a levity, and so I disappear and he appears, and then I just go about my day at that time.
Wonderful. I like that. Beautiful.
There was one other thing, I'm sorry, I just barged back in, but there was one other thing I meant to say, which is also, what Darwin, I think he says in this book, is that the other thing that is enticing about it, besides figuring out, it is figuring out, what did Baba mean by dress your soul in Baba? It's an odd thing. It's an odd concept, and it has absolutely no meaning or no predefined meaning. It's whatever you mean. And so just contemplating, well, what did Baba mean and what does that mean to me, and playing around with different things with Baba about what that is really a wonderful meditation and communion with Baba.
Yeah, and I think you experiment around with it. I'm benefiting just by hearing these different ways. I'm just going to incorporate them because it's not like you have to have your own brand. I mean, whatever works.
Hi, Jai Baba. I just remembered a quick, funny little story when we were little kids. We remember seeing Mansari. I think I was in 5th grade. My sister was in 3rd grade. And she would, before we left, she would always remind us, take Baba's name 5 times after you wake up and 5 times just before you sleep. She told it to both of us, and we kind of made it a competitive game between the two of us, and we would remind each other, and sometimes one of us forgets and the other one. I thought that was a childish little way, but it just became a habit growing up after that, Baba is just through the daily life chore. It's not even a conscious way of remembering, Baba, but it's now a part of the whole routine.
Beautiful. Lovely. Yeah, Mansari used to get the kids to do all of these little, saying Baba's name in different ways. It was darling.
Yeah. I also remember Nana Care, when we used to go see this, take darshan at the Samadhi. He would welcome everybody saying, welcome home. And then just as we were preparing to leave, he would always remind everyone, take Baba with you and remember Baba. Don't try to remember him right? He would always emphasize that don't try to remember him. He would always, stress that fact that there's no point in trying. He would say that just remember, just do it. Why you even, say, okay, I'll try. That means there's a chance that you may or you may not, but he wanted, he stressed that fact.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shraddha.
And Heidi?
Yeah, I always have these little clips of Baba from films running in my brain, and it was like a quick way to remember him. And when he's gesturing and emphasizing, that always came naturally to me. And this week has been a struggle because my sister's been in the hospital and she's COVID positive, and a lot of mental health problems and challenges, and she was in restraints. And I tried to remember, she knows Baba and she's been at the center. And so I was trying to project this image of Baba, to her as a prayer. And all of a sudden I just felt, Baba gesturing, like I see him when I remember him, and felt he, or sensed, not felt, that maybe he was in her hospital room with her. And I'm picturing him and I see him, gesturing, and he's emphasizing, and yeah, like that. And all of a sudden, internally I thought, what are you saying? Like, what are you saying? And I could hear Baba saying to me, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to her. Oh, wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. It kind of tied us together, and there was a key that was turned. And honest to God, she has so many risk factors with COVID. I thought, that was the end. And she came out of it.
Oh, beautiful.
As ornery as she could be. she came out of it. And, now we do the work of the discharge planning, which is, I'm pulling my hair out. But I have to remember to picture, Baba. I can't always sense what he's saying, but it doesn't really matter. I know he's taking care of it. But the picture, he has some really beautiful communications in some of the films. He wasn't even talking to somebody directly, but he was speaking and people were getting what he wanted them to do and pay attention to. So it was just beautiful. But anyway, that helps the clips for me.
Yeah, thank you. Very touching. Beautiful. And glad for your sister, boy.
Yeah, she was one time, she stayed at the center. Nobody could find where she was. This is way back. We were in our early 20s, and I was at our mid-20s. I was at work, and I remember getting a phone call at work from Kitty and Jane. and they were on like a conference call, and I started to shake, like, oh my God, what did I do, or what's going on? And my sister was there. She was at the center, and they had taken care of her for almost 3 weeks until they had it. They just couldn't deal with it anymore, and she was interrupting the peace of the center. So I remember Kitty, you know, asking me if I could take her. They would put her on a bus, and I said sure. And Kitty felt so bad to have to do that. It was amazing to me, the care that they put into her. And so I remember, you know, that I'm reminded of that because she has a connection with Baba and the center, and probably everything that's going on now in her own way. But that was special, you know, to me, you know.
Yeah. Thank you. Wonderful.
I just wanted to say to Peter, what I would do, or what I do often do, is just ask Baba, how do I dress my soul in you? And you've got to show me. And, you know, because he loves us more than we know how to love ourselves. And dressing my soul in him is certainly, you know, receiving his love, really, and being able to, you know, represent him in a sense. And so I am just feeling, you know, it just feels like a test you could give him, Peter. Just say, you know, come on, how do I do this? You show me how to do it my way, you know, so that it works for you and, you know, your own special thing. He gives the unique answer.
Good. Wonderful, Becky. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. And Gabriella?
Well, first of all, that was just beautiful to hear from Heidi, and thank you. And these personal stories are just, they make such a difference and inspire me to be more open. Thank you very much and very glad your sister is doing good. I was just add a little comment, just that if I'm dressing my soul in Baba, then I'm touching into my soul. That's assuming I know how to do that, right? Like, I mean, it's like, I kind of know what that means in a feeling sense, just to touch into my soul. I think I do it quite more often than I even think of, but it's just beautiful because to think that thought immediately, it pushes me to another level. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, in the last, I think the last letter that Mara wrote to the West, she talked about the speed bumps in the on a highway. And these like little speed bumps, you have to slow down, get out of the rat race for a moment, remember Baba, and continue on. And these are like, in a way, kind of moments where you step out of the rat race or the speed with which your life is going and unplug. So it's very helpful.
And Betty?
I don't know about dressing my soul, but just the fact of remembering, I think it's faith. I think it's an increasing belief that Baba, you know, this is real. Normally I wake up kind of blue, but it takes just a minute for me to remind myself, hey, you know, Baba's here. And then I jump up and go to Artie and the day is good. I mean, this Artie has been incredible. And it just, I think earlier, Jeff, you asked about what the effect, how we saw change spiritually in ourselves. And I just feel like I'm kind of relaxing into more who I really am. and really it's very dynamic. I'm happy and more creative. I'm singing, and singing wasn't something I used to do. So I guess that's really all. I really appreciate this team, all of it, a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Wow. Thank you. So touching. Yeah.
Oh, gee, Baba, Betty. And Anthony?
Wow, thank you, Betty. I just pause for a minute after that. It's just significant, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah, Peter, what I've been doing for years, a good system I found, from being at Temple of the Universe, I've gotten in the habit of keeping morning and evening sadhana or spiritual practice, and have had that rhythm going for probably about 15. Yeah, I've been doing it for 15 years at the temple. It started about 2 years before that with the morning and the evening meditation, and then with having some type of japa or remembrance of the name during the day that goes throughout the course of the day. So I've of course turned that into a Baba practice now. What I do in the morning, it's really simple. It's just real quick light yoga and breathing to kind of wake up the blood and the chi and all that. And then I just focus on my heart center, and I just say Baba's name coordinated with my breath silently. So Meher on the in breath and Baba on the out breath. So I'll sit in that for a little bit in the morning and just let my breath relax into that gentle Meher Baba on the in and out breath. And if my thoughts are too noisy, I'll whisper it instead of saying it silently, because sometimes the silent repetition of the name gets mixed in with the thoughts. So I'll try to do it silently in the morning and the evening, and just whispered if the thoughts are too crazy, which they are a lot. And then during the day, the way I remember the name, if I'm not in the middle of a task, if I'm actually doing a task, I'll just try to pause for a short bit before doing the task to bring his presence in. And if I'm just walking around or doing something, I use my fingers as mala beads. So I'll do that Meher Baba, and I touch my thumb to this finger, and then I'll go to that finger for the next Meher Baba, and then to that finger. And it's pretty much the same as chanting on malas, but instead of having to carry your beads with you everywhere, you do it on your fingers in a way to where nobody can notice it. Like nobody sees you walking around doing that. So, on the weekends, I'll walk in the woods by the house here, and I'll just do that rhythm on the fingers. I've been doing the fingers for a while. Paramahansa Yogananda had another neat secret japa technique where you do that breath coordinated mantra, and on the in breath you curl your finger in, and on the out breath you let it go out, and that way you can walk around during the day and keep the name going on your finger, the Meher on the in breath, Baba on the out breath. So that's been my little trick, is the morning and evening meditations. And then I've got that japa system during the day, and it seems like it works pretty good.
Great. That's fantastic, Anthony. Beautiful.
Neat. And Douglas, go ahead.
Just still with the wonderful emotional depth of Betty's sharing. I wanted to just acknowledge the kind of Zen koan nature of this practice that helped me to enjoy it and to see it as continual practice of deepening. And the place I am now, it's more in the spirit realm, which is I visualize energy and light, often colored light around me, and that's Baba around and coming into me and into my soul. And so the sense of energy, lightness, merging into me has really been a good practice. Jai Baba.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. See, it's beautiful, such the variety of ways, and then we can also, as I say, benefit from the way other people do it, and just increase your repertoire as noon arrives.
Yeah. Marge, go ahead.
Yeah, years ago, Bobby Bernstein wrote a beautiful song called Dress Your Soul with Baba. And I used to sing that as a reminder, but I've forgotten the music. So Jeff, maybe you can sing it later. Or you, Angela. Jai Baba.
Yeah, maybe Angela might know it. I mean, I kind of know it, but not well enough. Dress your soul.
Yes, I'll have to think about that too. And Janet Jacobs?
Yes, Jeff, I remember not a week or two ago on this Zoom call, I thought you said something about the spirit and the soul, and how the spirit was the soul when you're in a body, or I mean, I'm not remembering it clearly, and I'm just wondering if you could clarify that. Do you know what I'm speaking of?
Yeah, that was, I think, on just a late night chat or something. I can't remember, but these are just, if you like a definition, if it would help with clarity. Baba said that the soul is independent of creation as soul, but when the soul is in creation, it's called the spirit. So when the soul interfaces with creation, that is the spirit. So they're really kind of one and the same, except that when the soul is located, interfaces with creation, that is the level of the spirit. So that you can contact the spirit, you have to kind of jump out of creation to get into the soul, but you can be in creation and connect in with your spirit. I don't know if that helps, but sometimes these definitions, I mean, since they come from Baba, are help you kind of separate things out at an experiential level within. Does that make, was that clear, Janet?
Yes, it was. So, I mean, in a sense, when we're saying as being part of I mean, if I'm just taking what you're saying, from you said, what Baba said, when we're in creation, like we all are right now, excuse me, dressing our soul in Baba is really more like clothing our spirit in Baba.
Yeah. I mean, the terms are also kind of interchangeable, but Baba at one point back in the 30s made that distinction for whatever reason, but they're kind of can almost be used synonymously.
Yeah, I mean, that helps me because I mean, in doing this practice, it's easier for me to sense spirit than soul, because soul leaves me a little bit bereft. Like, I think, I don't remember who said it, maybe it was Peter, but where do I discover my soul? I mean, I don't question, but we all have a soul, but whereas spirit seems more accessible somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it's that deepest place in us that we can reach. We're bordering on the soul or the spirit. I mean, they say that song was a very soulful song. They're kind of referring to that realm deepest within us. It's coming from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ellery?
Thank you. So many beautiful suggestions coming forth on how to remember Baba. And I want to tap into, add something to what Anthony was saying earlier. And it has to do with japa, remembering or taking Baba's name. And Kierkegaard has set the bar at 100,000 repetitions a day. So if for a moment you look at your own palm, you will note when you include the tips of your fingers and double up on the tip of your thumb, there are 20 distinct markings. Besides your thumb, each finger has 4. And so 5 times 4 is 20. And there's another 20. And so that's one way that you can silently count. And as Anthony was saying, this is something that you can do all day long. Amongst other people, no one will really be observant of what you're doing. So it's a practice that that I've engaged in from time to time over the years. Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
And Jack?
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in. The one thing for me that I constantly try to remember, which helps a tremendous lot in mellowing out this illusionary experience, and that's the phrase I learned many years ago, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Nothing more, nothing less. It really helps a lot to remember that, because it kind of just, as I said, mellows out, and the experience of life becomes a lot more easier to live.
Yeah, excellent. Rather than being human beings having spiritual experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Wow. We opened up a can of worms here.
A good can.
Organic.
We have Marge.
Yeah, I'm just noticing it's a lot of people are saying dress your soul in Baba, but it's saying dress your soul with Baba. So the way I have pictured is Baba and me dressing my soul. So that's an image that I have. So we're doing it together.
Yeah, great. And the beautiful thing is that we've had fun, is that there are people in different time zones. So some of us, we just set our watch so it would go off every hour, because somebody somewhere in the country is doing their 12 o'clock, and it might be 3 o'clock for us, and it's 12 o'clock in California. So, it's kind of beautiful, because we're kind of meeting. You can look at it, we're meeting also with each other through this, even though we know that, Shraddha over in California is coming up to 12 o'clock, and when it's our 3 o'clock, that type of thing.
And then we include India and all that.
Yeah.
And Israel and.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of Mars and the idea of Bob being with Baba instead of being in Baba. The image came up where if I'm teaching this huge class of 150 people, and guess who walks in at 12 o'clock as a guest speaker? Baba.
Oh, yeah, because it goes off.
That's right.
Your watch,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, everything turns to Baba, you know? There you go.
Great, Jim.
Way back when I learned about dressing ourselves in Baba at certain times were not the times that we had watches that went off or machines that went off. And so I became very frustrated in those days trying to remember the time and getting nervous about the time and missing the time. And it just occurred to me that the best thing to do was just try to think of Baba all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, that doesn't happen either, but my plan was if I'm trying to think about Baba all the time, then I will at least think about Baba 4 times a day or so. And that's worked for me. And then rather than the fingers and some of the things I used to do, I've found that just that stop and pause and connect and take one long, like Jeff was saying, maybe it's a 4 to 6 second breath. Just within that one singular breath is like dressing myself. And so that's the tack that I've been taking for 40 years or something. And it's working for me, although I'm not always doing it at specific times.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, wonderful, Anne. Yeah. Yeah, because you can do this. You don't have to kind of stick to 4 times. You can kind of fit in every which way.
As many times as possible is my idea.
It's contagious. It's like a virus. Bobby Bernstein, who wrote this song, used to live up there and go to Darwin and Jean's meetings. And they were always kind of pushing her to write certain songs.
When you rise in the morning and before you go to sleep, at 12 noon and 5 p.m. there's a practice you can do. It's easy and it's comforting, so listen to what I say. Put Baba on just like a cloak and Baba happy. What you do is dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with the name of Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with the name of Baba. For a special time today, morning, night, and Bob. This is what can help you to keep your prayer alive. You'll look forward to thinking of it while taking a short break. Soon you're dressed in love all day and living for yourself. What you do is dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with me and Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with me and Baba. Now, next part is a fill the blanks. Let's see if you can pay attention. When you're yawning in the morning, at 2 and 12 noon, then again at 5 p.m. As you head into your bed, what you do is dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with me and Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with Baba, dress your soul with me and Baba.
Great. Darwin and Jean love that.
Thank you for finding that, Judy.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. She wrote that especially with them in mind, because they were always big on that.
Anthony says in the comments that it would be great to wake up to that on your
Yeah.
iPhone.
You know, I almost was going to invite her to come and play this. I thought earlier to have her just come in and play it.
Yeah, I was just going to add to the practices. When I say prayers, I often think of Baba standing next to me or with me and saying the prayers. But one of the things you said with the repentance prayer was that the we is him. His the second, it's him saying the prayer. So I often kind of let Baba speak it through me. That's the way I imagine it when I say the repentance prayer. And so I just kind of throw that out there in terms of dressing your soul. Sometimes I feel like, I'm not there, and it's just I'm letting Baba live my life, and he's dressing my soul. And sometimes I feel like I'm talking to him.
Beautiful. Yeah. In fact, we asked Erich, on the prayer of repentance, who does the we refer to? And he said, you and Baba.
Yeah.
Not a universal we, but because Baba used to stand up and say this prayer to the impersonal God, to the formless God. Baba on behalf of us.
And Ruth had your hand up?
I guess when I dress my soul with Baba, I think of the qualities that I attribute to Meher Baba. So it's how I see Baba when I think Baba. I try to get those qualities alive in me at that moment. And sometimes it's an image of a photograph that I see that he's beaming out at me. All the mercy, all the love, all the benevolence that he is. I try to bring as many qualities that I believe is my Baba to me at that moment so that I can actually feel Baba with me. And that's kind of how I dress my soul. Che Baba.
That there's one line where in here where where Darwin says it is more or less capturing the composite presence of Baba, meaning all the different sources of Baba you can bring to that moment. Like you say, his qualities, his image, his sense of humor, his warmth, whatever. Bring it all to bear sometimes in that moment is another way of doing it.
Yeah, it's all the things I love about Meher Baba that I try to bring into form, some substance that I can grasp for a moment.
Yeah, beautiful. All the things you are.
Yeah. And Gabriella?
Yeah, it just when we were saying that about Erich and the we quality, I had to say that, we're coming on the Jewish New Year and soon Yom Kippur, which is the day of repentance. And all the prayers are in the plural for the sin which we have committed before thee in, dealing falsely, and for the sin which we have committed before thee in lying, whatever it is. And it goes on and on all the day. It's always we. And I love that it's me and Baba. But I just want to also mention that what I was always told in the Jewish tradition was that the we is the community, that we're praying as a community. And as long as any one person is still sinning, even though we may not do it, we're holding it for the rest of the community. And of course, who's the community but Baba? Baba is everybody. So it's really not a difference.
Yeah.
But I thought I would mention that.
Good. Yeah, he is the we, the whole community.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Just to touch on that next section we're coming to, something that you might think about is Darwin used to say there's an invisible current in all of us, but that invisible current for most people is going toward I, me, and mine. And we need to reverse that current and flow out to the world and flow into Baba. And it's another practice, and I mean it's an awareness at the heart level, and you can tell whether you're stalled out, your current is stalled out, whether it's flowing or whether it's receding, and that's a level you can work at to find ways in which to get your flow going, because he, as he said, he uses this word fluidic. I'd never heard of it in relation to us, you know, but it's something, it's another practice that's very valuable to work at flowing and not let your flow stop at a person or a thing that happens or a thought that you have, to flow through it. It's a very valuable practice. But anyway, that we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, this relates back to the ideas of taking Baba's name and remembering Baba. And so I'm shifting gears. Dealing with technology is not my forte. Remembering Baba is something I try to do. And I feel incredibly grateful to Baba for the years that he allowed me to be what I call immersed in Baba, which was living over at Mehrabad. And at that, so two things came up to me as people were sharing their various ways and so forth. And one was something that Mansari used to say quite often: take his name, win the game, major, minor, and final. She really emphasized taking Baba's name, and that was her: take his name, win the game, major, minor, and final. It was almost a mantra that she gave to pilgrims that came in. And the other Mandali member that I loved seeing passing on the tradition of remembering Baba and remembering him through his prayers and his songs and his name was Khorshid Irani, who during the early and many decades, she was very early with Baba, was Mera's best friend in the ashram. And in her later years, she lived in Kushru quarters. She and Adi K. Irani were first cousins, and so that was part of her family home, actually. And every morning, so there were a number of servants that lived in Kushru quarters, and they all had families with little kids. And she had every one of those children come into her room every single morning before they went off to school. She would line them up like stair steps, with the tallest at one end and the shortest at the other. And she taught every one of them, and most of them did not speak a word of English, the Pavardigar prayer, the prayer of repentance, the beloved God prayer, Artis in Marathi and Hindi and English, and she would have them recite every single morning together all of the prayers, all of the artis, and a whole bunch of others that, and different ways of remembering Baba's name. And I had the good fortune to sort of be present for that many times. And I sort of secretly called it Baba's catechism class, that his, she was teaching them all these methods to remember Baba. And their parents were workers. They weren't necessarily so-called Baba lovers, but she imbibed these kids with so much love from Baba And that, anyway, that was a memory I had when people were sharing how they would remember Baba. And that was one of the things that Khorshid passed on to so many of them.
Beautiful. Yep. She was adorable. Hey, so let me just see. You know, you have on your last page of your book a poem that Darwin wrote. I was just wondering, we could, before the silence, if someone could read that. Let's let's see. Okay, Anne.
Dance for joy in the meaningless array, for all is void in the sight of God. Cease thy struggles with the coils of illusion. Let it go on unchallenged, unclaimed, and smile with God. For all is a trick, a joke which never was. Be not deceived by the enchantment of a distant freedom. O ye who are never bound, laugh at the trammels of Maya. It's wonderful.
Let's have a few moments of silence. And then anybody, we'll have a few moments after that, and then anybody that wants to stay on for this short heart-centered meditation is welcome to stay on. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Meher Prasad actually had his hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Judy was talking about Baba's name and Mansari saying taking Baba's name, and I just remembered this. Baba said that he took his own name continuously. And I remember Iruj saying there is a difference between continuous and continual. Continual implies a break, and continuous has no break. That means that Baba took his name without a break all the time. And, it just occurred to me that Baba said that, he was participating in the prayers so that he is present, he recites the prayer in the future. So, and that he didn't participate in the prayers continuously, but he did say his own name continuously. So how much more potent it is when somebody takes the name. If his participation in the prayer, once a day made sure that anyone who recited that prayer, he was present, the name has a lot more potence, I think.
Beautiful, yeah. In fact, Baba said astounding thing that his name was more powerful than I am. He said, pretty extraordinary thing to say, but it has great substance because he put so much presence into his name.
Yes. Can I share a story about his name?
Yeah.
Okay, this is about the power of Baba's name. I was driving home from a Baba meeting. This is many years ago when I still lived in Atlanta. And I saw someone running down the street, in the middle of the street. And I pulled over because they were obviously distraught. And it was a woman, and she was barefoot, and she was crying. And I told her to get in. And rather than saying, can I help? I just said, get in. And there was a car right behind me that had also pulled over. And I was going to go back and tell him, that's all right, I've got it. When I thought, they'll see that. So we drove off. And she proceeded to tell me that she had just been raped. And so I thought, well, I need to take her to Grady Hospital. And I was going the wrong way to get to Grady. So I was running short of gas. And two, I remembered that there was a turnoff from the road I was going up that led across the freeway, and there was a gas station on the corner. So I took that turn and I went into the gas station, listening intently to her. And the gas station was all dark. It was all closed up. So I started to pull out. And then I realized that the car had pulled up behind me. When I pulled in, he had pulled in. When I tried to pull out, he went around and blocked us. So I backed up and he got his car around behind us, and he finally got us into a place where we couldn't move. And he got out of the car and got his tire iron, and he's coming at us with his hand raised with the tire iron in it. And I knew he was going to kill us. And I opened her window and said, "Call for help as loud as you can." And I held onto the wheel and I shouted, "Baba, Baba, 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 Baba," as loud as I could and as fast as I could. And just as he got to the car, was going to smash the window, the lights in the gas station went on. 4 great big burly guys came out. The guy left, the cops came, they got him, took her to the hospital. And that was the power of Baba's name. And I'm sure that those must have been his agents, because I can't imagine 4 big burly guys sitting in the dark in a gas station. But Judith Shotwell told me one also, when I shared this with her, that she, when she was living in DC, had been out somewhere, I don't know where she was, but she came home to her apartment and she was walking down the sidewalk into her apartment, and a guy popped out from behind the bushes and put a knife right at her throat. And she screamed Baba's name as loud as she could and probably kept repeating it, I don't know. The guy dropped the knife and ran away. So Baba's name is so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks. Whoa, wow.
That reminds me of how Baba would say to say that name really loudly to an animal that was trying to attack you. Well, I guess a human is a kind of animal, right?
Yeah. So he said,
who knows? He might be one of the first lives when you think what the first life human must be.
There are human animals around too. Huh.
Yeah.
Anne, thank you for sharing that. And it's rousing a memory in me from 51 years ago or so. And it was New Year's Eve, I think 1969, possibly 1970. But very early in my knowing of Baba. And my family, which were my parents and my older brother, so I was probably 22 at the time, were heading out. I don't even remember. We must have been going camping. And the 4 of us were across the seat in a 61 Ford pickup with my dad driving. And he couldn't see, and they didn't have the interstate in those days. So instead of I-5 that runs up and down the West Coast, so we're in Southern California, there was Highway 395. And he asked my brother that was on the far window if it was clear. And my brother said, "Yes, if you hurry." And my dad waited. And then he decided to go cross the highway without being able to see. And we got, I think it's called T-boned by whatever vehicle was coming straight at us. And my brother went out the door. The door flew open and I broke the windshield and flew through the air. And my mother and father were still in the car. And by Baba's grace, I was able to remember him at that moment and was calling, "Baba, Baba, Baba. And I flew a long way and landed on my head, and actually I should have been dead. But I came out with something, my leg was sprained in some manner. I was on crutches for 2 months or something like that. But I was basically okay. I heard my mother yelling at my father, "You've killed our 2 kids." And she told me later, she said, "Well, honey, you were calling mama, mama, mama when you were going through the air." And she heard, you know, she didn't know that it was Baba, Baba, Baba that I was calling for. And I'd actually forgotten that, you know, I mean, it's not top of my memory, but that was a very early in my life, this body with Baba, a very good time to have remembered him and taken his name.
Yeah.
Time to remember.
What happened to your brother?
My brother was unscathed completely, as he sort of has managed to be his entire life.
Wonderful.
And actually, it's not relevant, but since you ask, and his what is it, 75th birthday is coming up, and this next week. So I'm going to remember him on this Baba meeting. And that is to say that during those early years, 69, 70, 71, we would both go home to my parents for Christmas each year. And I would always be carrying God Speaks, the Discourses and Listen Humanity. And I would put them on my nightstand. And as soon as I unpacked my stuff, my brother would come up from his room in the basement of my parents' house in Northern California, and he'd squirrel off whatever I was reading. And in that process, he read all of those books. And afterwards, I said, "Well, what did you think?" And by the way, he was working on a PhD in theoretical mathematics, which is like at that time. And I said, "What did you think?" And he said, "Well, he's either crazy or he's who he says he is. And he's clearly not crazy." And then he went out and bought the books himself. So my brother he clearly recognized who Baba was, but, and his name is Ray Robertson, but he, try as I may, I could never get him over to Mehrabad, even though he traveled quite a bit with his wife in those days. So at any rate, this is his link to our Baba activities by me remembering him today and sharing with all of you that he is in Baba's pocket, whether he consciously actually knows it or not.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you, Judy.
Yeah,
I have a brother. I have a brother like that too. Jack has had his hand up for a while, so.
Who had?
Did you have more, Judy, that you had, honey? I'm sorry.
No.
Are you sure?
Oh, I mean, I could share forever, but no, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. We'll let Jack go then. All right. So Jack, thanks, Jack.
Hi. Yeah, regarding the power of Baba's name, I was with Hermes back in the mid-'80s. And we were driving along, and he was telling me the story of what happened to him a few years prior to that. It was a rainy evening when he was driving his car, which was a convertible. I think some of you may remember it was a kind of brownish convertible. And it was the one that they drove Audie Senior around, Audie K around when he was in Myrtle Beach. Anyway, and he was on I-95 going up towards Virginia, I guess. I'm not too sure exactly where he was going. But he said it was raining very hard. And as he was coming up, following, it's I think it's a two. It was a 3-lane, 2 or 3 lanes. Anyway, two semis collided, and he said he found a way around them, and as he was going around them, he saw the tail end of one of them coming right at him, to hit him on the side and kill him probably. And he shouted Baba's name, and all he remembered is waking up, sitting in his car on the side of the road, and thanking Baba for I guess whatever he experienced. So when he got out of the car, the whole half of the car behind the driver's seat and the passenger seat was completely gone. I mean, that's something.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten that. Whenever I feel a little trepidatious about driving and coming into an accident. It happened basically to Marge and I in a different way. A couple of years ago, we were driving back from Georgia from her sister's, and somewhere in South Georgia, I was doing about 79, 81 miles an hour on the fast lane, and our left rear tire blew.
This is coming back from the Baba Center last year.
Okay, wherever. Right. We were going south anyway. Yeah. And I do remember saying Baba silently, Baba, I hope this is going to be all right. And I was able to, within about 2 to 3 seconds, check the left mirror and check the right mirror, and then I looked up at the rear view mirror inside the vehicle, and a whole line of cars and trucks were 100 yards behind, and I was able to just go all across all 3 or 4 lanes and safely on the other side, and 2 seconds later all that traffic came past us.
Yeah.
But that's how he works.
Yeah. Grace is above all above all laws.
I have another story.
Yeah, just a second.
Who's
though,
that?
in
Yeah,
a
I
little
think
bit-
Betty. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
In a little bit, because Stu was going to do a heart-centered meditation too, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true, and it's 20 after.
Can we do the meditation and then have folks share stories?
Yeah, it takes about 20 minutes or so. We could.
Okay.
What do you think, Ruth?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think whoever that was, Heidi, I think that's a good idea. Why don't we call on Stuart and start the heart meditation, if that's okay?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Stuart?
Good with the group?
Good. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Jay Baba, I was a little caught up listening myself. So I just want to say one little preface. Part of this meditation, I know a lot of you have done this with me. Part of it is sending Baba's infinite love to someone else in their heart. And I've mentioned that I learned the practice of sending love to someone else's heart in professional training in the context of conflict. And there can be remarkable results with that, but it's certainly not only for conflict. You can send it just because you want to send this gift of love to someone. Maybe you know somebody's in struggle. So it's an incredible gift, and it's like Baba's name. Okay. So I'll ask everybody to make sure we're muted, if you would, please. And just close your eyes And let yourself just settle into wherever you're sitting or lying. And start to take some good deep breaths into your belly. And we'll keep this gentle, full breathing going. And let's just let the world slip a little further away while we do this. And focus attention on your heart and your heart space. And that's the home of Baba's infinite love inside us. It's in us, it's around us, it's beyond us, and we all have it. But it can be easy to lose track of it too. So breathe into your heart center, the home of Baba's infinite love inside. And take note of whatever you might see or feel as you do this. And let yourself just slip in deeper as you breathe into your heart and this infinite love. And now I'd like to ask you to pick a person or a group who you would like to share the gift of Baba's infinite love with. And let your heart guide you, whoever comes up for you. And get a good image of them. And see their heart and their heart space. And keep breathing into your belly as you focus. Breathe into your image of them and seeing their heart and their heart space. And notice whatever you might feel or see. And this can change as we proceed along. And now start to see infinite love, Baba's infinite love just flowing into whoever you're focusing on and flowing into their heart and their heart center is an infinite supply of this love. You cannot use it up. So I tend to see this love as this wonderful, warm, golden, liquid light just flowing in. And however you see it is fine. And this flowing love is healing, soothing, forgiving, cleansing. It's all a gift. And it can do wonders, you never know. And keep seeing this infinite love flowing in. Breathe into it and feel it. It's filling their hearts all the way to the back and the bottom and overflowing, flowing through. And it's flowing through their whole being and their whole body. Just cleansing and healing and soothing. And keep breathing into the flow of this love. And again, take note of whatever you might see and feel. And we'll keep focusing on the flow of this love for another minute. And now let's bid farewell to whoever you've chosen. Farewell for now. And know that you can come back here again and again. This love is always here, infinitely. And know it's always available. And let's give thanks to Baba for this love and the opportunity to focus in sharing it. And now gently bring your awareness back to your own heart and your heart space. And breathe into your heart. And notice what you might see and feel. And now start to see Baba's infinite love flow into your heart and heart space. And there's no end to this love. Just let your heart drink deeply. And see and feel the love just flowing in, filling your heart and your heart space completely, and flowing through and overflowing, filling your whole being. And it's soothing, healing, forgiving. It's cleansing. And keep breathing in as you see and feel this love, this flow completely into and through your whole heart space and your whole being. Again, there's an endless supply of this love. And it is at the depths of your heart. So let's see and feel Baba's infinite love flowing into our heart spaces and our whole being for another moment. And know that you can return here again and again and let your heart drink and drink. And now let's give thanks for being able to focus on this infinite love from Meher Baba. And gently start to bring your awareness back to wherever you're sitting or laying. And take a few moments to adjust. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Wow.
Well, if anybody would like to share anything from doing this, just unmute and please feel free.
There are people that have written on the, typed in things in the chat before they left, just to let you know.
Sorry, Jeff?
There's some people that have left things on the chat who were a part of this, and as they were heading out the door, they, wow. This is like putting Baba, dressing your soul with Baba for a little longer period.
Today, this is Cindy, it felt like being in a room with Svandiar and a few other people and just being somewhere so deep and so silent and so at peace and nobody wanting to move from that silence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was hesitant to say Jai Baba, but break the quiet.
So Jeff, for a couple of moments, I took a note from your page, and when I was leaving people just in silence, I focused on sending love to Baba myself. And I basically saw this, I was almost going to say explosion of light before me inside. It was like incredible presence of divine light beyond the image of Baba, like from within and beyond at the same time.
Yeah, beautiful. He's referring to last time I got the idea just to focus it on Baba, the man. Boy, that was an experience. Yeah.
That's like, what can you give the God man who has everything? Just give him his own love back.
Totally redundant, but you know. Julie, are you still there?
Who did you ask?
Julie. I was wondering if Julie Ingsberg,
I'm still working with meditation.
Oh, beautiful. I won't interrupt you.
Deep, so deep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to come out.
You don't want to come out. It's true. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, Elizabeth, yeah.
Stuart, thank you so much for that meditation. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Most welcome, Ann.
Jim and I have to go to our Mariposa group right now, so we'll be leaving.
What's that?
Yeah, it just unfolds so naturally.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I echo that. Stuart, thank you so much for the meditation. Jeff, for so consistently leading us every week into Baba's heart and into his pocket. And it's so wonderful to have all of us, all of you, all of us together with Baba is such a treasure, especially at this unusual time that we're going through. So gratitude, I'm actually speechless beyond that with the meditation. So see you next time. Jai Mary Baba.
Yeah, thank you, Judy.
Yeah.
You run along to Seattle.
I'm already here, honey. In the illusion we call reality.
You're in Myrtle Beach.
I'm right here in Baba's pocket with you. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I guess we're all going down with the ship here. Rosalie, how you doing? Good. And I can just see Elizabeth's forehead there. Yeah. Oh, Joe DeSabatino.
Oh.
We may be overlapping into another Zoom session. I don't know. We are getting close.
You think it is, Jeff?
I just thought I'd drop in, say hi. What are you doing?
We just had a heart-centered, love-filled meditation that Stuart guided us on.
Oh, wow, okay.
And we're all a little woozy and mellow. Yeah.
Great. Sounds good.
We're just kind of, I mean, that started a while ago, so.
Yeah. Are you winding down your effort and grace?
Yeah.
Okay. So when does the artist start soon?
Oh, yeah. So you're about to start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, well, anyway, wonderful to see all of you. And seeing Ann and Robin reminds me I'm hungry. And yeah.
Okay, Bob, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, Rob,
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Thank
Baba.
You,
Jai Baba.
Stu. That was, and just complements the dressing your soul with Baba beautifully. Yeah. You guys.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.